say to that then because this is extremely important to what my legacy will be in Bridgeport, Connecticut. And you like you said, it's going to be a tough fight with the union and everything and all the stuff that's already in place to protect the police officer on every level if he's right, if the police officer is right. I'm talking about when he's wrong and he's still being protected. We're not doing that anymore. We're gonna address how do we fix where a good officer was working with a bad officer. A bad officer that particular night decided to have a kid handcuffed and then kick him in his face and can kick him again, and you didn't stop him. This is what I'm saying.
Well,
now, how do we fix that?
But that's where the problem comes in effect, that because this is why I said everybody, you're not supposed to turn cold on anybody in law enforcement, which that I know that code. But the whole problem to it is when the officer does turn in his partner for that. Now he's treated. This is what happens to these officers, and I know a couple of them that went through this stuff already, and it's not easy for them, because now what happens to that officer is now they get mistreated by the whole department. He gets called a snitch. He gets called this. They go after his car. They target his car. They'll put all kinds of stuff around in his area just to target that one officer. But now,
I'm not even going to talk color. We had an officer that turned in another police officer for beating up someone in handcuffs. That officer lost his job, got arrested, and lost his job.
yeah, I know who that was. Yes.
That police officer couldn't work in patrol anymore. Every time he called on the radio, they
Nobody would back him up.
punched on the radio so his transmission couldn't come through.
So
They wouldn't cover him. They wouldn't back him up. Finally, they put a rope, a hangman's noose, on that officer's car after they cut it up, and that officer had to be taken out of patrol.
Wow.
That's what you're dealing with. And
So let me
it's a
just
tough problem.
let me cut in then. So then it's safe to say this. I can respect the code of respect within the structure if the officer is right. So we're going to push the right officers to the side. We're addressing the code now in reference to the bad officers that are being protected by the shield now. So I have to look at those officers as no different than any other gang member across the country then. Would it be safe to say call it that?
I understand exactly what you're saying and your perspective, but again, police officers, and I'll just use Bridgeport because I did 31 years
right.
there.
Mm-hmm.
You have the union. You have the Board of Police Commissioners. You have the chief. You have the Office of Internal Affairs involved in the disciplinary process. And then that officer has the right to appeal things, to arbitration. There's so many processes in place. And any one of them could be advantageous to the officer who might be wrong. And that's a process that you're talking about fixing. It's a very complicated process, just so you know.
let me ask you this then. Because I know about the problems that go on. You know, guys talk, not just here in Bridgeport. It happens all over the place. Hartford, New Haven. Let me ask you something. As you being a chief of police, and that happened to one of your members, just say, okay, one of your good officers came to you and snitched on another bad officer. How would you put the whole level? What protocol would you take on something like that?
Okay, my department is 11-man police department, plus I have 10 part-timers, so it's a much smaller department than Bridgeport. I don't have an Office of Internal Affairs. I don't have all those processes in place that I'm talking about in Bridgeport. I would do the investigation, which means I'm going to sit that person down, I'm going to talk to him, I'm going to get reports from him, I'm going to notify the union, this is what I'm doing. I'm going to have the officers make out reports. I'm going to look to see if there's anybody that saw it. Because I'm on college, I got an advantage. I got cameras. If there's something criminal involved, I can utilize those cameras. Not for violations of policy, but something criminal.
Right.
So I have all those things to bear. And being a police officer for 31 years, I can read between the line when I see a file. I'm like, okay, this is nonsense versus this is absolute truth.
Right.
That would be my process that I would use. Luckily, the police officers that I have, wonderful guys. They all do what they're supposed to do, and they love the community policing model that I brought there. Every
Right.
last one.
No,
Again, I got a small department.
What? Let me ask you another question though, because I don't know if you guys do it, but I know like in other towns they do it. Like, say for instance, if Holyoke got into a situation, do you first aid respond for them.
The Holyoke Community College Police Department, they're special state police officers, so they're covered by the state. So the first entity I would call would be the state police. Now, if there's an emergency, I'm going to call the Holyoke Police because they're closer.
Right.
But that's how it works. They're actually state police officers certified by the state. So
Okay.
that's how that works.
But do you guys have first responder? Like, if Holyoke had a situation,
All
like,
my officers trained. If you're talking about first responders as far as life-saving techniques, all my officers have been trained. That's the first thing.
no, I'm not saying that. Like, say for instance, okay, you're at the college, and something happens. Like, just use this, shooting or something.
We're going to call Holyoke first because Holyoke is right there.
Closest.
Then I'm going to call the state police, and they're going to respond.
Okay.
And we'll go from there.
So let me ask you this again, because I want because I'm right now I'm a bit confused with good cop, bad cop.
Okay.
Because I'm not focused. I have no squabbles or no misunderstandings or no misconstruedness with good cop. We have to be focused. I have to focus on because I'm speaking for every person in Bridgeport, Connecticut, and across the
Let me see
country.
if I can answer your question this way, your inquiries. Any police department is a equal representation of society.
Right.
That means you're going to get some honest cops, you're going to get some dishonest cops, you're going to get the good and the bad. We have processes in place to keep the bad ones out. Nothing is perfect. Somebody's going to get through. Having said that, you're going to have some good cops that are going to come on the job and they're going to get burnt out because of the crowd that they keep. There's certain officers already on the job that are burnt out, don't want to do anything, and that could come into play. And you're going to have good cops that are going to come in and become better cops because they worked around police officers that really care about the community. That's what's going on in the police department. So in answer to the good cop, bad cop thing, some of them come on bad and we can't filter them all out. Some of them develop bad habits when they get there, and that's just the way it is. And we just try as administrators to keep as much of the badness out as we can and keep the good cops there and do what we can. But again, it's not a perfect process because
And
again,
I
the God
and,
is the only
right.
thing that's perfect.
And I respect that, but I would say this, and I truly believe this: there's no such thing as a good cop and a bad cop. This is my this is Tony speaking now,
Okay.
not for the whole country. He's speaking for himself. I believe this: you were a bad person before you put the police uniform on, and you still a bad person in a police uniform. Will that make sense to you?
That actually does. Yes, it does.
You had no intentions of going there to be a police officer. You had every intentions to go there to do anything and everything that would uplift you in whatever your intentions were.
Well, I
Would-
agree
would-
with you in the sense that when somebody is just a person that's not a good character, that's what you're going to have. That's what's going to come out. And again, sometimes during the interview process, we miss it because anybody can sit there and say, "Well, I can't wait to get out there and help the community." When they get out there, they don't want to do anything. That happens.
Contrary to what they
Right.
stated.
And there's some cops that they come on, they don't have the first clue what they're going to do. They just want to get on, and they actually become great community policing officers. I've seen some of the best white officers do community policing in the projects that you ever want to see, versus some black officers that didn't want to do anything.
Right.
So I hate to say it, but it's almost like a crapshoot. So we as administrators have to try to keep our officers positive, keep them towing the line, and keep them going in the right direction. That's our job.
Right. Could I ask? I'm gonna ask you another question. Again, I'm so thankful that you came. You came all the way down here. If you didn't come down, it was going to be a problem. So let me ask you this, and I want you to be as honest as possible with it. When we're dealing with situations with young people,
Okay.
and you stated earlier, and I've talked to a bunch of kids constantly. They have a negative response when the officer talk to me. So shouldn't the officer be in types of training for social skills, how to
I've-
interact?
Even though my officers are great officers, I still implement training. I have my officers go for diversity training, things along those lines. And again, I have a small department. Bridgeport Police Department, we got 375 guys. The cost could be astronomical, but those are the things I do. I walk with my police officers when we go into our community and we introduce ourselves and We've even implemented things where we hand out pins with our numbers on it, and we have those things that you put in the computer.
Oh, the chips.
The chips. We have our police number on there. See something, say something. We have all kinds of little positive things going. We actually have little flyers that we hand out on what to do. If there's a problem, you can call us. We have a lot of positive notes going on at our community. But again, we're talking a smaller community compared to Bridgeport that has, I think, 145,000
people.
375 cops. Big difference in cost.
Well, actually, 154,000, I believe.
And I'll ask you a yes or no answer on this. Yes. And this is yes or no. Do you believe that in the Gardner situation out of New York, that the police went beyond the scope?
I didn't feel comfortable with the decision, and here's why. You got 3 or 4 officers around this man, and he's asking for air. I get the officer holding on, saying, if I loosen up, maybe he'll get really aggressive. But you got 3 or 4 officers. He should have had the presence of mind, in my opinion, to give him some air. That's my opinion. I wasn't there. I haven't seen the paperwork. I don't know if it was right or wrong. They didn't even go to the grand. Did they go to the grand jury?
They went to grand jury.
And again, I don't want to speak bad about police officers in New York because there's some fine cops down there. There's probably some bad ones down there too. But if I was on that scene, I'd have gave that man some air. I would. I'm sorry.
Interesting.
Because what came out of that was we're talking about kids in high school, kids across the United States of America, all demographic backgrounds, walked out of school. Said no. Said no. Said this can't be.
Some of them even apologized to me. Said there's nothing against you, Chief Bailey. Says I know you have a right to protest. You go right on ahead. I didn't stop them, and the college applauded me for allowing them to protest because it's like they're trying to call attention to what happened to Eric Gardner, which many people in the United States figured was wrong.
So, and I will say one more because we're running out of time, and I don't want to feel, and I'm going to let Dave end the show because it's his show. He's been saying I've been trying to steal the show. I'm not trying to steal the show. So, it's
no,
safe
actually,
to say,
I'm just glad that I got you, basically, because sometimes you can't get here. But, I got to give you credit, seriously, because you talk the truth. You're not hiding anything back. It's not easy for you to put that badge on and talk about the stuff that you're talking about. So that you got 100% credit there. I mean, there's no ifs ands buts about it on that part. Putting that uniform on, it's not easy. You got a wife to go home to. You got children to go home to. It's just, and what you said about being a parent. I respect that too because you're looking at both sides. You're not just looking at the one side. You're looking at both sides. You're a parent and plus a law enforcement officer. Not too many people do that. Bridgeport is a big city. Hartford is. New Haven is. And like you said, you got 10,000 people that you take care of, which is lower. But you know what? 10,000 people that you have to watch, see, make sure that they're safe. And you take care of them. There you go. But the thing is how many people could actually say that? You know what I'm saying? That's the problem. How many people could actually say that? If you get a lot of other people on here, they probably couldn't even talk like you talked. And truthfully,
God has blessed me.
but
I have to go to him because
that's where it all starts.
That's all it starts.
And community peace is going to have to work their thing. They're going to have to work it out.
Yep. Well, this is the Sheriff Goodman Show, the truth and reality. Thank you for watching. Have a good night.